The Forbidden Love. This is a story of an unacceptable or forbidden love affair resulting from racist motives between a white Sudanese Arab girl and a black African Zungi boy from South Sudan. It was written in English and translated into Arabic by Dr. A. Ahmed. Copyrights. All rights are reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in a tribal system, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author, except by a reviewer who may cite brief passages from the review for printing in a general magazine, a school journal, or a university article. All characters in this love story are fictitious, and any resemblance to real people, live or dead, is purely coincidental. Chapter 44. Surprise police raid in India. The morning after his Arab wife fled Sudan, Deng's cousin, Christina, received Insaf at Bombay International Airport. The university student Christina was terrified when she saw that Insaf had arrived alone at the airport. Her African cousin Deng called her by phone less than 24 hours ago and told her that he would travel by plane from Khartoum to Bombay with his Arab wife Insaf. The sad face of the Arab wife conveyed the heartbreaking news before the matter could be expressed in her mouth through words. Christina was sad and cried for a while for her cousin when his wife told her what happened to him on the day she fled. With teary eyes and sad faces, the two girls took a taxi and headed to Christina's apartment. Deng's cousin lives in a beautiful apartment in a posh area of Bombay known as Bandara. She's a foreign student at the Faculty of Arts at the University of Bombay, studying economics and political science, and is in her third year of study. She lives in a beautiful apartment with her Nigerian boyfriend, Eddie. Her African lover is now in Nigeria for his summer vacation. Christina then asked the newly arrived Arab wife to take a quick shower, change her clothes, and have dinner. She promised that she would call Deng's parents and find out what happened to her cousin the day his Arab wife left. Shortly after dinner, the two girls went to sleep. The next morning, Christina left her apartment before Insaf even woke up. She wrote a small note and left it on the table near her guest bed. She stated that she went on a short visit to one of her Sudanese friends and would return in 2 hours. The visiting Arab guest Insaf was awakened from her sleep by the ringing of the doorbell. She opened her eyes and looked at the time on the wall clock. It is 10:30 a.m. local Bombay time. Insaf looked at her wristwatch and found the time was 7 in the morning. India is located in the east and is therefore more than 3 hours ahead of Sudan, which is located in the center of the world. Therefore, the tourist visitor Insaf wondered about the time difference between the two countries, India and Sudan. The constant ringing of the bell forced her to get out of her bed and broke the door. She opened the door and saw two young Sudanese boys. Without speaking to her, the two African boys entered the living room. Before they sat down, they introduced themselves to Insaf as one of them was Christina's brother and the other her cousin. Then they expressed their sadness and regret for what they learned through Christina about what happened to their cousin Deng Majok Nasir. The two boys gave their names as Jimmy and Eric. Then the two visitors headed to the kitchen to prepare breakfast for the newly arrived guests. Shortly after, Insaf heard the doorbell ring again. She thought Christina had returned from her short visit. When she opened the door, she saw a couple who had also come to meet Christina. Their Nigerian boyfriend and his Sudanese girlfriend. Then the Sudanese girl embraced the new guest and introduced herself as Julia and her Nigerian boyfriend Felix. Insaf was a little puzzled by the beautiful dress and expensive jewelry Julia was wearing. She is also puzzled by the fact that the fairest two Sudanese girl she met in Bombay had Nigerian lovers. But the other factor that increased her admiration was the beautiful and large apartment in which her husband's cousin Christina lived. Deng's Arab wife in South had already noticed the fancy dress and expensive jewelry that her husband's African cousin was wearing last night when she came to receive her at Bombay International Airport. She appeared to her as a rich bride who married the richest groom in the world. Before she could solve the two puzzling questions, the new guest in South saw that Jimmy had brought her breakfast. Then he politely asked her to eat her first meal of the day in India. Christina returned 2 hours later after her brother and cousin came to see the Arab visitor in South. She brought with her all kinds of food, fruits, and juices. Then she presented to all her guests the new Arab girl as the wife of her cousin, Deng. She also told them that Insaf had come alone last night from Khartoum to Bombay, but she did not mention the reason why her African cousin did not come with his Arab wife. After the brief introduction, Christina took her friend Julia into the kitchen to prepare lunch for everyone. The visiting Arab girl in Saf was left alone with the three boys. The beautiful Arab wife was upset by the way the young Nigerian man, Felix, kept looking at her face and legs. She's wearing one of Christina's nightgowns. The nightgown is short and small for her, so it reveals her sexy legs, thighs, hips, and big ass. Even her underwear, like swimsuit and para, can be seen through the transparent white nightgown. This nightgown is worse than the revealing dress that the Bim Hajjesheza forced her to wear in front of Sheikh Abdu. The beautiful and sexy Arab wife tried to ignore the lustful Nigerian young man, but the African student kept staring at her like a hungry wolf who saw a stray deer, or a tramp who saw a completely naked street prostitute. Then Sudanese man Eric angered her even more when he turned on the tape recorder. The rock music is so loud that Insaf expected the Indian neighbors to get upset and come and protest. Jimmy also turned on the TV and turned the volume up to the highest level so he could hear the news. The apartment has turned into a night disco. Meanwhile, the two African girls, Christina and Julia, are talking and laughing in the kitchen while preparing food. The new guest in South fell out of place in this noisy atmosphere like a fish out of water. Christina's apartment in Bombay is 100 times larger than the lovers' small love nest in the outskirts of Khartoum. Moreover, the rich cousin's comfortable life in India is 1,000,000 times more luxurious than her cousin Deng's miserable life in their little hut in a shanty town in Sudan with his beautiful Arab wife in South. Then the doorbell started ringing again. The new Arab girl deliberately ignored the bell and waited for one of the three boys to answer it. She doesn't want to walk to the door and let the voluptuous African young man see her big buttocks and little red underwear through the sheer white nightgown she's wearing. Insaf left her back with all her dresses, underwear, and shoes in Sudan on the day she fled from the two Arab police officers who raided their shack and tried to arrest them for breaking the Sharia law, living together, and committing adultery. The three boys also ignored the repeated ringing and remained sitting as if the knocking visitor did not concern them. The door the doorbell became part of the loud music and high television volume and made himself annoyed more. Then the knocker started knocking on the door with both hands as if he wanted it to break it out of anger. Christina quickly came out of the kitchen and pulled the door open. Immediately, four Indian men rushed into the apartment. The young Nigerian man ran toward the window, but one of the men stopped him. One of the four Indian men shouted, "Stop there, or I will shoot you and kill you like a stray dog." Insaf opened her mouth and eyes when she saw the four men pointing their pistols at the Nigerian foreign student who tried to escape and jump out of the window. "You should all go to one side," another man told a group of friends. Then the three other Indian men scattered inside the apartment. One man rushed into the room where Asaf spent the night, another into Christina's room, and a third into the kitchen. Julia was escorted from the kitchen into the living room with the gun pointed at her head. The newly arrived Sudanese girl Insaf and her companions were all ordered to kneel and place their hands on their heads. All the foreign students were piled up in one corner. One of the men turned off the music and shut off the TV. Insaf did not doubt that the four Indian men became annoyed by the loud music that sounded like a nightclub's dancing and drunk people's tavern. But what surprised her was the way they expressed their anger. The Indian man who went to search for her room came out. The other man who entered Christina's room shouted from inside to one of his friends, "It is all here, sir." One of the men responded to his words and rushed into the room. The foreign guests in Saf mistook the four Indian men for thieves. Perhaps they came for an armed robbery in broad daylight. "Don't talk, don't move," one of the armed Indian men shouted at the Nigerian student and his Sudanese girlfriend when he heard them talking to each other. The other two men left Christina's room. One of them holds a yellow bucket in his hand. He put the bucket on the table and said to the man guarding himself and the others, 25 kilograms, sir. Some of them have already been packed in small capsules." This short sentence confirmed the guess of Insaf that the four armed Indian men were swindlers and thieves. They reminded her of the childish game that the boys of her neighborhood, Al Maidan, used to play on the full moon night as thieves and soldiers. She saw that this game was also played by Indians, but the teams here used real assault rifles in broad daylight. Insaf concluded that these thieves, Indians, found some gold inside the room of the rich foreign girl Christina. She expressed her hope that these criminals would not shoot any of them, but would run away with what they had looted and disappear with the spoils. Then the terrified new guest in Saf heard the doorbell ring again. One of the Indian men pointed his gun at the Sudanese student, Eric, indicating that he should open the door. Eric got to his feet, then went to the door and opened it. A Sudanese girl asked him in Arabic, "Is my beloved Christina there?" Before Eric could answer the question, one of the thieving Indian men pulled him away. Then he pointed his gun at the new visitor and ordered her to enter. A short Sudanese girl entered, followed by a tall Sudanese boy. "Sir," said the tall Sudanese boy, "we have come to visit our friend Christina." "Go and kneel there and put your hands on your head, both of you," the man said. "But sir, we haven't done anything to get arrested for." said the short Sudanese girl who had just come. We found 25 kilograms of drugs inside the bedroom of the foreign student Christina. In those textbooks, do you learn how to package illegal substance like these drugs into small capsules and smuggle them out of the country? Then you swallow them before you travel to another country and excrete or poop them out when you get there. Christina said, Sir, officer, I did not know that these drugs were hidden in a bag inside my room. It was probably my Nigerian friend, Eddie, traveling abroad, who brought them here and hid them without my knowledge. Say those ridiculous things to an idiot like you. We have been following you since you left your apartment this morning. We saw the old hunchback Afghani man when he handed you the package with the drugs at the Bandara steps. We already arrested him with his teenage Indian girl mistress, who is called Radha Krishna. The foreign tourist visitor could not honestly believe her eyes or ears that what she was experiencing, seeing, and hearing was real. She shook her head repeatedly to assure herself that she was not dreaming, hallucinating, or imagining these people and their voices. Her eyes constantly looked at the 4 Indian narcotics cops without blinking for a second. Those who were considered soldiers and thieves became real policemen, and the foreign students became the thieves. She expects that one of the boys or girls will make a wrong move and that the police will shoot them at any moment. The first bullet had already been fired at her husband in Khartoum, shattering their dream of escape to pieces. Now it is her turn as a wife to receive the second bullet in her heart in Bombay, and their forbidden love story ends forever. The thoughts of Insaf were disturbed by an Indian policeman when he began questioning the Nigerian student. What is your name? Asked one of the narcotics police officers. The African foreign student replied, My name is Felix Amba. What is your nationality? I'm a Nigerian. Are there any other Nigerian boys or girls here? Jimmy said, We are all Sudanese foreign students studying at the University of Bombay, and we have student visas. Each of you should come and write his name and address in this register. And do not forget to mention the name of your college at the University of Mumbai. Insaf is the last foreign defendant. Insaf was the last foreign defendant to write her name. The Indian policeman stopped her and shouted at her, Why didn't you write your address and the name of your university college? I don't live here in India, sir, said the new guest Insaf fearfully. I arrived from Sudan last night. So, you are one of those foreign students who smuggle drugs out of the country. Swallow them in your stomach before you travel to another country and then excrete them through your big ass when you get there. I have never seen or know what drugs look like, sir. As a tourist to India, I'm not a university student, just a visitor. A visitor to whom? I came to visit the Sudanese student, Christina. She is my husband Deng's cousin. Where's your husband now? My husband was unable to come with me due to emergency circumstances that occurred on the day we were supposed to travel together from Sudan to India. What is your nationality? I'm a Sudanese girl. But you don't look like a black Negro African girl like those foreign African students. I'm a Sudanese Arab girl from northern Sudan. How old are you? I'm 18 years old. Where's your Sudanese passport? It is inside my handbag in that room. Ram, follow her and let her show you where she keeps her passport. Be careful not to let her trick you and jump out the window and run away from you. Insaf trembled like a reed as she led the policeman into the room to show him her passport while he pointed his gun at her head as if she were a dangerous criminal or a notorious drug smuggler who frequented prisons like jailbird. When she found her travel papers, she handed them to the policeman, who took her to the living room and made her kneel as if she was praying to the devil, then returned to his previous position. The first policeman opened her passport and searched all its pages. Then he placed it near the illicit drug bucket bag. Is there anyone else with his passport? The short Sudanese girl said, Yes, sir. I'm on my way to the Criminal Investigation Department office to renew my residence permit as a foreign student in India. Take it out and put it on that table. When the girl put her passport near Insaf's passport, the narcotics policeman said to her, You do not need to renew your residency as a student in India anymore. The law will allow you to live for 14 years in India while you are in prison. The unexpected legal news sentence made the short Sudanese girl and others cry. The same Indian policeman leading the raiding group shouted, Stack them all into the police car. Before the other three policemen carried out their commander's order, they hear a girl's voice calling Christina's name from under the living room window. Julia, Christina said to her Sudanese friend in Arabic, This is Mary. Tell her to go away before the Indian police arrest her. Julia screamed in Arabic and frightened the Sudanese girl Mary and asked her to run away from the police. The boss asked, Who is she calling you by name, Christina? I don't know who is she, sir. I cannot recognize her by her voice. Rao, the boss said, call that black African Negro girl and ask her to come in. Tell her Christina is taking a shower. Rao stuck his head out the window, but he could not see any black African girl on the street. He then said, She ran away, sir, because I didn't see any foreign Negro girl black as coal in the street. The commander shouted, Hurry up and tie them together, and if anyone tries to act funny or tries to escape, shoot him in the head. The three policemen obeyed their superior's order and tied the four boys together, and the four Sudanese girls were tied together with long ropes as well. Once the Sudanese Arab foreign tourist girl accused of drug smuggling was taken out of the apartment of her African husband's cousin with the three other girls, she saw a large crowd of Indians gathered in front of the outside door. Then the Arab wife in South remembered her African husband Deng, who was killed by the police in their home country. She began to cry bitterly while her beautiful eyes shed many hot tears over the two disasters that happened to them in Sudan and India. Chapter 45. Sudanese students' reactions to the arrest of the Arab girl. All Sudanese students studying at Bombay University condemn Christina's friendship with the Nigerian student Eddie. Her wealthy lifestyle confirmed the students' suspicions that she was involved in drug trafficking with her African boyfriend. Therefore, the South Sudan Students Association boycotted Christina and threatened to boycott any Sudanese boy or girl associated with her. Despite this, some girls and boys from South Sudan continued to communicate with her secretly. Some Sudanese girls like Julia, Rebecca, Jessica, and Mary even fell in love with Nigerian students like her. When Christina began to influence other African girls, the Sudanese students quarreled with her. She and her two friends, Julia and Mary, challenged them and threatened to report their threats to the Indian police. Since that day, most foreign students from Sudan have washed their hands of Christina, Julia, and Mary. Howbeit, the born-again Christian Sudanese student Atem is one of the boys who did not accept the decision of the South Sudanese students. Being an active Christian boy, he believes Sister Christina should be given a chance to repent of her bad choices. He would always visit her beautiful apartment and talk to her about God's love. On the day of the drug police mass arrest, he was at a day-long leaders meeting at church. During his lunch break, he decided to go and preach the gospel to the lost Christian girl. He accidentally met the Sudanese student Jessica at the bus station in the luxurious Bandera neighborhood and accompanied her to Christina's apartment. Unfortunately, the two got into the middle of attending a drug cops raid. The arrest of the 4 Sudanese students and 3 boys who are foreign students from South Sudan is shocking news in Bombay. Never before in India has a Sudanese student been caught smuggling drugs. The arrest of the Sudanese Christian student Atem, who was committed to the teaching of the Holy Bible, had a major impact on his church. Indian church leaders, men and women, immediately met and discussed the possibility of hiring a lawyer for him. They collectively agreed that the African foreign student Atem is innocent and that his life and commitment prove it. Although the Indian leaders sympathized with their African brother in Christ, Atem, they concluded that the church funds had been sanctified by the prayers of saints and therefore could not be used in such a felony charge. However, a wealthy Indian woman in the church approached a legal representative with her own money to defend an innocent African brother who had been arrested on drug charges because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. On the same night of the arrest, a group of Nigerian students appointed the best 2 lawyers in Bombay to defend the cases of the accused, the Nigerian student Felix and the 2 Sudanese students, Christina and Julia. Jessica's sister, Jimmy's sister, and Eric also went to a lawyer and asked him to defend their detained relatives. Among the 8 suspects, the Arab wife who came to India as a tourist in South Salah Junaid is the only one who does not have anyone in the city of Bombay to appoint a lawyer to defend her in the criminal court. All the remaining 7 accused are Christians, Africans, and foreign students at the University of Bombay. It is Insaf who is the only Arab and Muslim girl and is not a student. Her involvement in the drug case creates a mystery for all Sudanese students, whether they are Northerners or Southerners. When news of the mass arrest reached the ears of 1,500 North Sudanese Muslim students at Bombay University, everyone believed that the suspect who had been arrested were infidel Christian students from South Sudan. Therefore, all the Muslim students from Northern Sudan who represented the majority said that the matter did not concern them. There are 400 foreign students from South Sudan at the University of Bombay. They are all Christians, while the other 1,500 Sudanese are Muslim students hailing from northern Sudan. Despite this, the first group of visitors who came to the prison and then returned it to the other Sudanese students returned it with shocking news to everyone who heard that a northern girl was among those detained on charges of drug smuggling. Impossible! All the Muslim northern Arab students shouted in unison. None of them believed that a northern Arab Muslim girl could have a drug dealing Nigerian black student as boyfriend. For them, this is something impossible to believe. Another group of South Sudanese students went to the women's prison and returned it with the same report. The leader of the Muslim Brotherhood shouted it. They are liars. I would have believed them if they had said that the Arabian Sea changed its natural course and was flowing from Bombay to New Delhi. But I cannot believe that an Arab Muslim girl was arrested on drug charges. It is impossible for me to believe that an Arab girl from the Ummah or a community of the Prophet Muhammad is accused of drug smuggling and has a Nigerian Negro black slave as boyfriend. But the educated, liberal, atheist, and feminist Sudanese students took the matter seriously and went and sent 3 representatives to verify the report of the students from South Sudan. These representatives paid a surprise visit to the 4 accused Sudanese girls in the women's prison and confirmed the report. However, the Muslim Brotherhood group and its women's branch, known as the Nusayba Sisters, sent 3 groups of devout Sudanese Muslim girls to verify this hard-to-believe claim. The first group went and came back with information that was half true and half false. They said they had seen the accused girl in question, but it was possible that she had a southern mother and a northern father. As for the second group of Nusayba sisters, they brought 2 sets truths and 1 set dishonesty. They claimed that the girl was really a white northern, but was born and raised in South Sudan. She does not speak Arabic fluently and is not a complete Muslim girl. The Muslim Brotherhood leader asked the Muslim girls what they meant by her not being a completely Muslim girl. One of the girls said that the detained northern girl could not be considered a real Muslim woman because she did not speak pure Arabic. She speaks broken Arabic known in South Sudan as Juba Arabic. Such a point was refuted by the leader of the Muslim Brotherhood because many Muslims in the valley do not speak Arabic. Another girl confirmed her point of view, saying that the detained Arab girl could not be a true Muslima because she grew up in a non-Muslim society influenced by African and Christian cultures. This argument was also rejected on the grounds that many Muslims live in Western and Christian countries and are not influenced by these infidels and atheists. The third girl said that if the accused Arab girl was a Muslima, how could she mix with Christian Southerners involved in the drug trade? This point of view is accepted by almost everyone as completely justified. However, the leader, the Muslim prince, rejected it again, saying that Muslims sometimes follow in the footsteps of Satan. To solve this problem, the third group of Muslim sisters was sent to the women's prison in Bombay. This latest group of the Nusayba sisters revealed the honest and complete truth about the identity of the accused girl in question. According to the report, the name of the detained girl is Insaf Salah Junaid. She was born and raised in the city of Gadarif to Arab, Northern, and Muslim parents, and from the Arab Shagir tribe. Moreover, she is 100% Arab girl and speaks Arabic fluently. Once it was established that this undeniable fact was completely satisfactory to the Muslim Brotherhood and the Nusayber sisters, another important question was raised. How did this free Arab Muslim woman fall in the hands of these infidel Christian Southern boys and girls? Unless this important question is answered, the leader of the Northern Sudanese Students' Union, the Amir of the Muslim Brotherhood, the Sheikh of Al-Ansar Al-Sunnah Al-Muhammadiyah, and their followers decided not to interfere and commit themselves to helping the girl. Therefore, the first group of Muslim and atheist girls from North was delegated to investigate the matter. This group of religious and secular women brought another piece of information that broke the previous record. They collectively stated that the girl is married to a southerner named Deng Majok Nasir and that she is pregnant and carrying his baby in her womb. This latest information caused a major dispute among Sudanese and foreign students at the University of Bombay. The dispute arose from the important question of whether such a girl should be helped or not. The matter has become a subject of controversy, dispute, and disagreement, and is about to cause a dangerous division among the sons and daughters of one and the same nation. To avoid division between male and female students in the diaspora, the decision-making committee met to discuss the serious issue. The committee members agreed on the need to resolve the dispute by a general vote among the students and chose the decision with the majority of votes. Those who thought the union should help the Arab girl were asked to write yes on a small piece of paper and place it inside the ballot box. Likewise, opponents must write no and must throw their papers into the same box. 220 students voted it negatively. 50 students voted it neutral by dropping blank papers into the ballot box. Sudanese gays, lesbian, and atheists have been accused of this kind of ambiguous and ridiculous voting. Even a few feminist students were considered contemptible, hypocrites, and apostates of Islam and did this kind of voting. 70 male or female students did not vote at all. The so-called semi-Muslim brothers, semi-Muslim sisters of Nusayba, and semi-atheists, both males and females, have been accused of this kind of voting. 510 students voted in favorably. Accordingly, the Northern Sudanese student at the Bombay University decided to appoint a lawyer to defend the accused, the Northern Sudanese Arab Muslima girl Insaf Salah Junaid. Despite this positive result of the vote, the Muslim brothers and sisters of Nusayba who voted it negatively were able to evacuate or dig out Insaf's social background and criminal record when she was in Sudan and publicly revealed her bad past when she lived in the cities of Gadarif and when she lived as a homeless girl in Port Sudan and Khartoum cities. They wrote her criminal history in a long article and attached it to their weekly newspaper, called it Jihad for the sake of Allah, or as jihad for the sake of God. As a result, it was revealed that the detained Arab and Muslim girl Isaf was involved in 4 murders, 2 robberies, and prostitution as a high-ranking hooker, and the matter became public knowledge. Moreover, her disobedience to her Arab father, her running away from home, her murder of her fairest all-Muslim husband, the late Hattaha, and her marriage to a black-faced African Southern Negro slave were considered serious crimes. Some of them considered it more severe than high treason, rebelling the homeland. As a result, the leader of the Muslim Brotherhood announced his withdrawal, managing to drag a few small religious groups with him. However, he did not succeed in winning the support of the fanatical group Ansar Sunnah al-Muhammadiyya, the second largest religious group. The main reason for his failure is the gross hatred between the two Muslim groups. There are political and demographic factors behind the hostility between the two grand religious leaders. The president or a sheikh of Ansar Sunnah is a citizen of Gaddarif and may lose his position if he refuses to help an Arab girl from his city. In addition, 70% of his followers come from the same city where Saf was born and raised. In addition, there is an old enmity between the two leaders. The atheistic, communist, and secular democratic parties, small but powerful minorities, began to incite hostility to create a split between the two most powerful religious and political groups in the city of Bombay among the Sudanese students. The hostility between these two terrorist groups began a year ago when Ansar Sunnah al-Muhammadiyya accused the Grand Amir, or a leader of the Muslim Brotherhood, and the Nusayba sisters of committing moral sin and linguistic abuse. Linguistically, the Sunni Muhammadan group accused him of not speaking the Arabic language fluently. The group was able to trace his family's roots to an African tribe living in western Sudan called the Masalit. This tribe speaks an African language in addition to Arabic. It was called Masalit because its origin is from Darbuslat in Chad. So in their view, the Amir of the Muslim Brotherhood is accused of having an uncircumcised tongue. Despite this linguistic flaw, the Amir of the Islamic group found a subtle way to hide this linguistic flaw by speaking classical Arabic instead of the Sudanese dialect. The moral accusation does not directly relate to the leader of the Muslim Brotherhood and the Nusayba sister of Nusayba, but rather to his assistant, a student named Osman Maulana. This Maulana was caught red-handed in an obscene act in a brothel by a group of communist students. The notorious brothel red light area is called Faris Road. The communists recorded the time, home address, and name of the Indian prostitute with whom the deputy of the Amir of the Muslim Brotherhood, Osman Maulana, had committed adultery. When the communist newspaper announced the sex scandal, the leader of the Muslim Brotherhood refused to accept it and described the leftist who exposed the fornication of his assistant as red devils. The Muslim brothers and sisters of Nusayba also brought 2 charges against the leader of Ansar al-Sunnah al-Muhammadiyah. The first is a physical crime, and the second is a religious sin. The leader of Ansar al-Sunnah admitted the physical sin he committed unintentionally, but denied the religious sin. Again, the carnal sin has to do with the atheist, communist, Sudanese students. One day, the leader of the Ansar al-Sunnah al-Muhammadiyah went to the house of communist students to bring them out of the darkness of disbelief and lead them to the light of Islam. But the cunning leader's main motive was to spy on them and expose their immoral behaviors. The atheist communist students received him respectfully at their house and gave him the opportunity to preach his religion to them. They discussed its contents with him, and they accepted his Islamic religious booklets that he gave them and promised to read them. The next day, the communist students were angry when they read a long, offensive article written about them by the leader of Ansar Sunnah al-Muhammadiyah in his group's newspaper called The Drawn Sword of Islam. The offensive article talks about their decadent lifestyle and immoral behaviors. In his article, he described them as stray dogs whose dirty bodies smell of alcohol and whose clothes were moldy and stinking and reek of impurity from the filth of adultery, prostitution, and sodomy. Sudanese prostitutes, Indian sluts, and Nepalese hookers live with them in sexual cohabitation without marriage. The walls of their house are decorated with naked infidel movie stars and American rock female singers. Their songs are vulgar, and their magazines and newspapers are earthly and full of pictures of streaming American singers and pornographic films. Some of them are adulterous with feminists, and some of them are homosexual who practice sodomy with each other like the people of the Prophet Lord. This false accusation greatly angered the communist students, and they decided to take deadly revenge on the perpetrator. In a general meeting, the communist leaders called on each member to come up with a destructive plot against their arch enemy. Some of these atheist students suggested that they attack his moral integrity and discredit him as he had done to them. This idea was rejected because it was unlikely that anyone would believe them after what was written about them in their newspaper called Saif al-Islam al-Maslul. Some feminist students who belonged to the same communist group suggested that some tough atheist student should ambush the evil Muslim leader and then physically assault him and beat him like a camel. Such a destructive plan was rejected for two reasons. First, if the Muslim leader suffers permanent physical damage and is confined to a wheelchair, his followers and other religious groups may regard him as a hero of Islam. Second, if the Imam of the Sunnah al-Muhammadiyah dies during the attack, he will be considered a martyr in the jihad war against atheists. In this case, he would be considered to have gone to paradise to enjoy the 72 virgins. In this way, many other pride ideas were proposed and rejected. Finally, a Sudanese communist student who's an atheist named Khalid came up with an ideal plan that would destroy the reputation of the religious leader. According to his plan, the evil leader of Ansar al-Sunnah al-Muhammadiyah should be invited to have lunch in the same house he visited of the communists. He should know that the Sudanese communist students want to have a friendly and intellectual discussion with him about his beliefs. Naturally, the religious leader would accept such an invitation because he has an argumentative mind and a voracious stomach. Then the students of the left must buy pork, cook it, and serve it as a hearty meal to the Sheikh of Ansar Sunnah al-Mahmadiyah. The, con- the conspiracy work was implemented to the fullest extent, and news came out in the Marxist communist newspaper known as Al Mayadeen that the leader of the Sunnah Muhammadiyah ate in their home yesterday non-permissible meat or a haram meat. It is not the meat of a sheep, a cow, or even a dog, but pork. As was said, it is true that a Muslim man and a Muslim woman can commit adultery, rape, steal, kill, or blow up their bodies in smithereens in jihad for the sake of God, but neither of them can ever eat pork. The communists immediately spread the news that the religious leader of Ansar Sunnah and Nabawiyah had enjoyed a delicious meal in their home, cooked from the pork of an unclean pig, eating feces in the streets, a rotten excrement in garbage containers. When the news reached the ears of the leader of Ansar Sunnah, his stomach reacted it and he vomited everything he had swallowed on that day and the days before it. Eating unclean pork is not only forbidden in Islam, but some Muslims, such as Ansar Sunnah al-Muhammadiyah, believe that anyone who eats such forbidden food or is bitten by a dog cannot see the Prophet Muhammad in heaven. Some fanatical members suggested that their spiritual leader undergo gastric bypass surgery to remove all the forbidden meat or haram meat or pork he swallowed on his big stomach in the house of immoral infidel atheists. There is disagreement among those with these extreme views about what the surgeon should remove from their leader's belly. Some of them said the intestines, some said the tongue, and some said the entire stomach because it became imbued by the meat of the pig. When the leader of Ansar Sunnah al-Muhammadiyah and Nabawiyah refused to perform such a dangerous surgery, the group split. Therefore, the Muslim Brotherhood always uses this existential and immoral sin to insult their opponents. The religious sin revolves around a secret sexual relationship between the Muslim leader and an Indian Muslima damsel. Some communists arrested the leader of Ansar Sunnah al-Muhammadiyah while he was sitting on the university campus under a tree with a beautiful and sexy Indian Muslim girl, but she was veiled and not wearing makeup. The Indian girl was wearing an abaya and hijab when she was caught in an illegal seclusion with the leader of Ansar Sunnah. The atheist leftists used their mobile phones and took pictures of this forbidden and shameful act. When the Marxists questioned the Muslim leader who was caught red-handed with the beautiful Indian girl about this issue, he denied any immoral ill will on his part toward the sweet Muslima Indian girl. He said that he and the beautiful Indian girl were discussing religious issues related to their Islamic faith. The students took the matter further and demanded an explanation for holding the discussion under a tree in a secluded place. The leader said that the girl did not want people to see her talking to a foreign man to whom she was not related by blood or marriage. Whatever the reason, the Ansar Sunnah al-Muhammadiyya leader is collectively accused by other Muslims of having a secret love affair with a young Indian woman. Everyone knows that he is a married man and a polygamist. He has two Sudanese wives in the city of Gadarif in his country and a Muslima wife with him in the city of Bombay in India. He has many sons, daughters, and grandchildren. His youngest daughter, Fatma al-Zahra, is older than the beautiful Indian Muslim girl Shabana, with whom he is having an obscene relationship. He was unable to marry his new foreign Indian Muslima girlfriend because Islam does not allow him to marry more than 4 wives at the same time. Returning to our main topic, which is the matter of the detained Arab girl in Saf, accused of drug smuggling. The two Muslim leaders did not surrender to the political campaigns of the Sudanese communist, feminist, and democratic parties. They exercised their veto rights and pressured the executive committee of the student union to withdraw its support for the accused Muslim girl. The union's decision-making members agreed to a compromise and called a general meeting. In the new meeting, the issue of the accused Muslim girl in Saf, Salah al-Junaid, was discussed again, and all members agreed to hold a second vote. This time, the number of her supporters fell to less than 2 votes. As a result, the Muslim students of northern Sudan were forced to withdraw their support for the Arab girl married to an African man. Therefore, Insaf Salah al-Junaid is the only accused who does not have a lawyer to defend her case in the Bombay Criminal Court. Chapter 46. The brutal prostitute and drug dealer. 2 weeks later, the accused Arab wife Insaf Salah al-Junaid was transferred along with the other suspects to the criminal court in the Chargate area in downtown Bombay, which is the largest cosmopolitan city of India. Upon their arrival, Insaf was astonished to see about 500 Sudanese students gathered in the court complex. Most of them are Northern Arabs like her. Besides them, there is a large number of African students. As soon as Insaf got out of the police vehicle, hundreds of students from the north of her country surrounded her. She happens to be wearing the same transparent white nightgown that exposes her large buttocks and breasts, and her small red underwear is also visible. Her big breasts were covered by a red bra that everyone could see through the transparent white nightgown. Even a street hooker or a brothel prostitute may not agree to appear in public place in such a revealing dress. Even the bad dress that the Bim Hajjashaza board and the prison administration forced her to wear on the day of her search session was not like this. On the day of her arrest, the Indian police did not allow the Arab wife Insaf to change her nightgown and wear modest clothing. She came from Sudan to India with only one dress and one pair of shoes that she was wearing on her body and feet on the day of her arrival. She left all her dresses, other underwear and shoes with her African husband Deng in their small hut. She changed her dress and put on her husband's cousin Christina's nightgown the night she arrived at her apartment. From then on, for 2 weeks, in the woman's prison in Bombay, she wore the same nightgown on her body. This transparent nightie made her red underwear, bra, and other private parts completely visible. As we mentioned above, this immodest and scandalous nightgown belongs to her husband's African cousin Christina. She's the evil drug dealer who gets Insaf and some other suspected foreign students into felony trouble with the Indian narcotics police. Then the Arab wife began to hear many sons and daughters of her motherland speaking to her in Arabic. They questioned her involvement in the drug charge. Some of them expressed their regret at seeing a beautiful white Sudanese Arab girl among the suspected black African women. Others told her that she had brought shame to Sudan by being involved in drug smuggling charges with these black bitches. Insaf ignored their hurtful remarks and obscene questions, bowed her head down and avoided looking at them. However, a conversation between two boys from northern Sudan touched her heart deeply and caused hot tears to fall down from her beautiful eyes. One student asked another student in Arabic, how did that black southern Negro slave convince her to marry him? His friend replied, love is blind. The two Sudanese boys talked loudly on purpose to make her hear them. I don't think a beautiful white Arab girl like this could fall in love with a black Negro slave from South Sudan who looked like a crow. Maybe he is from a wealthy southern family living in northern Sudan. So his African parents weighed her white body in gold and bought her with huge sums of money from her poor Arab family. I cannot believe that a pure Arab girl like her would allow a southern Negro boy to sleep in the same bed with her. I think she is a dirty whore and a notorious drug dealer. Before the impudent Sudanese boy could finish his bad words, Insaf turned her face towards him and spat on his face. The Arab boy felt humiliated in front of his northern Sudanese companions. To free himself from embarrassment and humiliation, he criticized Insaf with many bad words. You are a dirty whore and a worthless drug dealer. You are a fucking daughter of a dog and a bitch. I will fuck your dirty big pussy with my big cock and fuck your mother's filthy ass too. To attack Insaf while he was insulting her with these obscene words, the angry boy began to make his way towards her. Some of his friends caught him, stopping him with difficulty as his vile mouth foamed and sparks flew from his red eyes. At the same time, the detained Arab wife and the other suspects were transferred inside the criminal courtroom. The accused foreigners did not spend more than 20 minutes inside the Indian courtroom. The court clerk counted them, wrote down their names, and gave them another date for a second hearing. The judge then ordered the police to return them to prison. On that day, an incident occurred outside the courtroom, which greatly damaged Insaf's reputation and moral integrity. Immediately after she left the courtroom, she was approached by the same angry northern Sudanese Arab student who had hurt her feelings. He stood in front of her and shouted in English, "The brutal whore and drug dealer, I swear by God Almighty and His holy book that this Sudanese Arab girl is a prostitute from the city of Gadarif. I can swear by blessing my right hand on the Holy Quran that I had sex with her several times in brothels and bars in the airport red light area. I got her big pussy and asshole. Fuck it." The black southern Negro slave who had sex with her and impregnated her with an illegitimate child had taken her from those brothels in my city. She became pregnant with an illegitimate child, and when her Arab father wanted to kill her, she ran away from home and became a prostitute in the streets of Khartoum. She also later became a prostitute in brothels in the capital city, a local liquor seller, and a drug dealer. She was a famous high-ranking prostitute, and as a result of a financial dispute with a Sudanese BIM known as Sheza, she killed her. Hundreds of wealthy Sudanese and Arabs from Saudi Arabia and the Gulf countries had sex with her and fucked her in the pussy and ass. She has a big pussy that can be fucked with a stick or a man's leg. Therefore, her dirty pussy has a bad smell. Her hairy pussy also looks like a dead, decomposing rat. If she were not a recognized prostitute, she would not have appeared in a foreign country like India in this transparent dress that exposes her private parts, so every man can see her little red swimsuit-like underwear and her bra that barely covers her big tits. Her big asshole, her red ass, and her black pussy hair are all clearly visible, as if she was in a Bond movie filming. The other Northern Sudanese students received the students' obscene words about Insaf with applause and cheers. They believed every word he said about her because he happened to be born in the same city as the birthplace of Insaf at Gadaref city. The detained Sudanese Arab girl Insaf had never felt such humiliation and harm throughout her life as at that time. The words of that Northern Sudanese student caused a deep wound inside her, as if a poisonous dagger had been stuck in her heart. She was unable to cry, talk, or walk. All she can do is stand still in her place like a statue or a lifeless body that has been deprived of its soul. Slowly she gathered her shattered self-esteem and bent down, kneeling in a prayer of repentance and forgiveness. Everyone thought she would kneel on the ground and ask God for forgiveness for her crimes in prostitution and drug dealing. Then her right hand reached her high heel and held it in a quick movement that was not expected by those looking at her. She stood up and threw her shoe in the face of the bad Sudanese student. The high heel flew straight like a spear and hit his left eye, stabbing it like a dagger. The evil Sudanese Arab boy felt as if a poisonous dagger had been stuck in his eye. Blood flowed from his eye like a torrent of red water. He grabbed his face with both hands and started screaming in unbearable pain. His friends gathered around him and tried to help him. Some of them ran towards the perpetrator Insaf and tried to assault her. The Indian female guards met them with their patents and put them back. One of the Sudanese boys somehow managed to reach Insaf and push her. She fell upside down until her feet were apart from each other. She inadvertently exposed her thighs, hips, and little red underwear. Immediately, an Indian guard helped the fallen accused get back on her feet. Another guard shouted at another detained Sudanese girl and asked her why the foreign defendant in South stabbed her high-heeled shoe in the face of the foreign student and blinded his eye. The man accused in the drug case, Christina, replied, because he called her a dirty whore and a drug dealer. An Indian policewoman told the other female guards, quickly put her in the car before they attack her again. The guards then pulled Insaf's hands and pushed her into the police car. When the car started moving, the Arab Gail began to hear hundreds of voices shouting at her in Arabic, the Sudanese prostitute and drug dealer. The bad student's eye injury did not cause as much damage to himself as it did to her name and reputation in the Indian media. That Sudanese foreign student already had a criminal record with the Bombay police for sexually harassing an Indian woman. When the quarrel occurred between the accused in Insaf and that foreign student, some Indian female journalists were present. The female journalist reporting the news, believed the foreign student's insults about the accused and developed them into a big story. The bad Sudanese student had spoken his lies and shameful claims about the foreign suspect himself in both English and Arabic. Some of the most famous local newspapers in the city of Bombay, such as Asian Age and the Times of India, included long articles on the front pages about the bloody incident. The Times of India newspaper chose an attractive headline. An Arab prostitute named Insaf Salah Junaid assaults a Sudanese foreign student in the Bombay Criminal Court by gouging out his left eye by hitting him with her high-heeled shoe. The newspaper, the Asian Age, reported the incident under an article titled an Arab foreign prostitute accused of drug trafficking assaults a Sudanese foreign student in the Bombay Criminal Court. He was attacked in front of the prison guards and his left eye was blinded by one of her high heels. Each article showed a picture of the foreign Arab defendant himself, while female prison guards were dragging her towards their car. Another press photo showed her throwing her black high heel at the evil Sudanese foreign student. As for the third scandalous photo, it showed her at the moment she got pushed by another foreign student and fell on her back, revealing her bare white thighs and hips and her more red underwear. The popular newspapers articles also recounted the drug charges against the detained Arab foreigner and other suspects. The article writers focus more on the female foreigner itself, not only because of her bloody fight with the Sudanese student, but because she was arrested on drugs smuggling charge. According to reports they obtained from the Bombay anti-drug trafficking police, the foreign Arab defendant itself flew from Sudan to India one day before the mass police arrest. She is neither a resident of India nor a foreign student. She came to the country as a tourist girl. The main purpose of her short visit is to smuggle drugs out of India and take them to a Western foreign country. She represented foreign hands abroad. Although she was traveling on a Sudanese passport, the police suspected her identity. She doesn't look like a black African girl at all. The color of her white skin, her long hair, and the beauty of her face all indicate that she is probably a young Arab woman or an Indian or an Iranian girl. Anti-narcotics police officers took her fingerprints and are now conducting a thorough investigation into the charge against her. According to anti-narcotics police chief Krishna Ram Barasat, a comprehensive investigation into her past outside the country may reveal a previous criminal record of the accused foreign girl in South Salah Junaid. Those false negative reports by the anti-narcotics police that appear in the famous local newspapers made all Sudanese students hate the Northern Arab Muslim girl in South even more and considered her a disgrace to the bright name of Sudan.